Emile Hirsch is outside. We should invite him in, I guess.
Yeah, it's bring him in.
Yes. Emile Hirsch is in. You know Emile Hirsch, Matt Iseman?
I do.
He's
I
in the
don't
movie
know him. I know I don't know him personally.
Into the Wild,
Yeah.
Milk, tons of movies. He's got a new movie out.
We sat next to each other on the plane
Why, yes, we did.
yesterday.
Oh, my gosh.
That's right.
Wow.
How you
Look
doing,
at
buddy?
this. We bring people together. Emile Hirsch and Matt Iseman.
Wow.
Plane buddies.
We rode next to each other from L.A. yesterday morning.
I guess
JetBlue. Now I'm revealing your travel plans, Emile.
Yeah. Well, you know where to find me.
I slept most of the time.
You did?
Yeah, I was past it. It was early morning.
Do people bother you on planes, Emile? Like, do they? Because I always wonder when somebody who's recognizable, when you sit down on a plane, realizing that the guy next to you could know.
No, I think usually not. No, not really.
That's good.
Yeah.
Have you ever sat next to somebody that you wanted to bother but just didn't?
Cameron Diaz was one time on a plane, and I was like, oh, man, not like she's on this plane. This is amazing. And I was like, well, we're not going down.
Right.
We're not going down.
Well, you
She's
hope
not going down.
Yeah, because you would say Cameron Diaz and others killed. You never want to be with a celebrity when they go
But
down.
I feel like sometimes, like, if people see a celebrity on an airplane, they sort of think that automatically. They're
Like we're safe?
Yeah. They're like, okay. Like, because they know rationally that, you know, flying is safe, and then that just, for some reason, hammers it home.
Yeah, because it would be like it would be an international news story if this plane went down. This isn't happening today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
really
safe.
unlikely.
I'm safe. Whew, no problem.
So you guys didn't recognize each other on the plane?
No, well, he wouldn't know me.
Why not? He's American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah,
Well,
you don't think he
the
watches
voice.
American Ninja Warrior?
Oh,
on
man.
TV all the time.
American Ninja Warrior is amazing.
Yeah, man.
See?
He's the fucking...
You hang out with badasses.
Right?
Right.
Are you
And I'm not a badass. No, I'm
Wow.
I am a
I
poussey.
actually watched a few episodes of American Ninja Warrior, I think on a plane.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny is there's a rumor that there may be a celebrity version going on, Emile.
Really?
And people like Stephen Amell and Jim Norton from the Jim and Sam show might be competing on it, and maybe Emile Hirsch.
Yeah, do you want to be on Celebrity American Ninja Warrior?
I would totally do it.
Right.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, when I was training for Lone Survivor with Wahlberg,
Yeah.
like I went down to Buds with Ben Foster.
What's
and
Buds?
It's the basic underwater demolition school where all
I
the
knew what it was,
SEALs
but
train
he
at.
didn't. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Thanks for clearing that up.
And at one point, we walked out to the SEAL obstacle course, and he was like, "Have at it, dude." And I was like, and I did some of the obstacle course, and where all the dudes train, and it's like that's sort of like American Ninja Warrior.
So this is
stuff.
what's
I was
embarrassing.
in way better shape then. But
So this is full circle. You know how I get motivated in the gym? On my Walkman, I downloaded the audio to the trailer for Lone Survivor.
oh wow.
We could be heroes.
Yeah, the Peter Gabriel
Just for
cover
one day.
On your
Bowie.
Walkman?
I never have
I
synergy like this.
literally, on my Walkman, I'm listening to it.
Yeah, man, I'll go.
You're never
run.
out of the fight.
I'll go run all the time and listen to that Peter Gabriel
Dude,
song.
but like, I mean, I listened, the audio from the trailer with
Yeah.
like the voices.
Wow.
Gentlemen, Operation Roadway gets a go.
Yeah.
How did you do on the SEAL
Oh my
obstacle course?
God.
I did all right. I
I'm
mean,
getting fired up now. Play that trailer. That is the best trailer.
Yeah.
So you did
Sorry.
well on it or
No.
What?
You did good on the SEAL obstacle course?
I mean, they didn't time me or anything, but I did a little bit of it. You know, I mean, I wouldn't claim to have like kicked the SEAL obstacle course ass. Those guys are, you know,
Yeah.
real badasses who train really
You know
hard.
what seems hard about that is like you have to stay in your wet clothes and sit in the sand and it's cold holding
Yeah.
a log. It just
Yeah.
seems really uncomfortable.
You think so?
I was
Yes.
walking through the courtyard and I saw a dude who was completely soaked head to toe, who was kind of waddling, and I look at this guy who's giving me the tour, and I said, "Why is he waddling like that?" He goes, "Oh, well, he's sort of shimmying around in his clothes, trying to stay as dry as possible and have as little of the wetness touch his skin." And I'm like, "Well, that's not a lot because he's completely soaked from head to toe." And he's like, "Yeah, but every little bit, you know."
Wow.
He's literally
I would worry
walking
about.
around
I get blisters on my feet. Like if my feet get wet, I get blisters. Like where I wear flip flops and my feet, I would have to have Band-Aids.
Yeah,
I
You
couldn't
should
be a
immediately
SEAL.
tell the drill instructor in SEAL school.
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
you-
yeah.
They won't
I
make
think
you
he'd
do
like
it.
that.
Time out.
Do you have a
have
little
blisters.
thing of foot lotion that I
Right?
can put on my
I
belt
mean-
just so that way we can
just-
moisturize?
5 minutes is enough marching, sir. That's it.
How did the SEALs react to you guys being there? Like, did they like that you're portraying them accurately because you're actually doing the work, or were they like, who
Well,
are the
we
Hollywood
hadn't
people?
we hadn't shot the film yet, and I think I mean, those guys are so incredible, and I think that they just wanted to let us know as much as they could so that we could try to do as good a job as we could and portray them as best as we could.
Accurately. I feel like you do movies where you have to do a lot of work. Like there's a lot of homework
Yeah,
associated with a bunch of your movies. It's not like half the time you're not just getting a script and getting to just
there's
read
not
it.
a lot of like light comedies where I'm just coming in and getting some dialogue down. That's just sort of the way that it's kind of been. And but I personally love it. I mean, I like challenges and
Because you had to what? You had to learn how to skate to do Lords of Dogtown.
yeah, and then there was sort of mountaineering stuff for Into the Wild.
Plus you had to lose like all your weight for Into the Wild.
Yeah, got rid of the baby fat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you have to go into SEAL training.
Well, I wouldn't call that
or-
seal. Yeah, let's
We're calling it SEAL training.
Yeah.
Right.
We
For
will,
me, it's
right.
like
yeah.
it's the equivalent. But and then so for this movie,
Yeah.
the
Autopsy of Jane Doe.
yeah, which I watched last night, and it was really like it was good. And I'll tell you, like when somebody comes in with a movie, I'll always give it like 25 minutes, and then get the gist and probably turn it off.
Yeah.
I didn't turn it off. That's how I knew
Wow.
it was good.
Wow.
I watched
Yeah.
the entire movie.
What's it about? My link didn't work.
Yes, it did.
No, it didn't.
It was operator
it's
error.
A freaky. It's a scary movie about a father and son morgue working team that gets a mysterious body in the night, and they have to perform an autopsy to figure out the cause of death. So it's sort of like a mystery where they're
Yeah.
putting together the cause of death, and then it kind of becomes this horrific conclusion. But it's freaky, and so to prepare for that, I went to the Los Angeles County Morgue, which is the biggest morgue under one roof in the world. And I got a tour of the morgue by the director, Craig Harvey. I had to sign a ton of paperwork so that if I got Ebola in there, I wouldn't sue him afterwards. And I went from having never seen a dead body in my entire life to seeing hundreds and hundreds of bodies.
How do you get permission for that? Does the studio contact them, or do you just go, "Hey, look, I'm an actor and I want to come in and look"?
I DM'd him on Instagram. And that was I'm just kidding.
I'm so
no.
stupid. I actually went, "Oh, I didn't know that would work."
No. I mean, I don't know. I think the producers, I don't know.
They just get you in.
They somehow got me in. They went through the procedure that you do, but
Did you touch the bodies at all?
no, you can't do that.
You can't poke at them.
It
Like,
was-
are they dead for sure?
Honestly,
for sure.
it was. My jaw was like I had to like pull it up off the floor. It was. Some of the images afterwards are just I'll never forget. I mean, I saw like 5 or 6 active autopsies being done, and if you've never seen an autopsy before, it is. I mean, you got to see it.
Terrific.
You got to see the
Yeah,
movie.
you gotta
see the
autopsies.
I always show up late for them. They're always done by the
So
time
what
I
were
get
you?
there.
What was the body then that you worked on? Prosthetic?
Yeah, I mean, we had a real actress who, because a lot of the movie, they used her, this actress Owen Kelly, who was incredible, and she was like a method corpse. I mean, she wouldn't talk to anybody.
She just has to stay still the
laid
whole
down
time?
and still, and wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, it was incredible, and that was hard because she was on this big cold slab of marble for 30 days or whatnot, and it was actually probably
That
one
sounds
of the,
like a role
the
Bobby
worst
Kelly
job
could
in
do.
the and then we had this like kind of this dummy. The dummy to me, after I'd been in the morgue and seen all these people that had had these really unfortunate ends, was easier to deal with than that. I mean, even now, I'll still have images of that morgue.
That's what I was thinking about. That like as soon as I started watching the movie, like at the very beginning, when you figure out that it's centered around this kid and his dad who work at the morgue, that like just the idea of getting to a point where you're so desensitized that you can do that for a living, like
Yeah.
just handle dead
Yeah.
bodies, and it's just what you do. It's just around you all the time, and it's like going to any other job.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the workers when I went downtown were like, "Hey, man, can I get a picture with you?" And they were like throwing their arms around me, and like they
That's dead
kind
arm.
of still had their like gear on, and I was
Yeah.
like, "I'm getting like pieces of people all over me right now."
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess it's there was a certain kind of gloom that I think my character has in the film.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a little bit of sadness and melancholy, and that was, I think, probably because he'd been handling all those bodies.
Were you allowed to actually stand there while they did the autopsy, or did
Yeah.
you have to watch from another room?
No, these like double
Kramer and
doors, these
Seinfeld
double
in the
doors
audience?
were like
Yeah.
shh and open, and the worker saw me and was like, "Hey, man, come on in here." Like he literally said it like that.
So you get to stand right where they
They
are.
gave me a mask, and I wasn't like standing next to him. I was a few feet to the side, but I mean, you see the way. I mean, I saw. It's the morning. I don't want people to like take their coffees in the car, but it was pretty heavy stuff.
But like, what was it? Like,
Yeah, where they cut into the cut into
I
the
don't
chest.
mind
I
people
mean, like
taking their coffee.
exactly.
I saw a woman like fully get cut open. I saw a guy have his scalp peeled over his face with his ears clipped on both sides. So they pulled his face all the way down. Then they drilled open his skull and pulled his brain out, and then snapped his brain stem so you could like hear the click. It was like.
And that's how they get the brain out.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know. That might have just been a quirk that one guy had. No.
But that's like so fucked because then you realize like that your brain stem the reason everything works like it's just one guy's snap away.
Right.
Like it's just
You also
proud.
realize how unique you're not. Like everybody thinks we're unique and we're special, and like, no, I'm just a hunk of fucking body parts that they're eventually just gonna cut out and throw in the garbage.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
I don't know
would
if they
be the
throw it in
more
the garbage.
jaded view of humanity. But like, I think it's just we have bodies, and that's sort of.
We've got
we
the
all know
divine
that,
spark,
though, right?
though.
I guess
That's us,
so.
right?
Yeah,
It's inside.
I mean,
it's the soul.
Yeah, it's
Right.
the living.
And that's
that
what
is
art
the
gets in
special.
touch with.
The soul.
The spark, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's what I guess.
American Ninja Warrior, my ass. Nobel laureate over here.
But that you want to believe that you're special,
Right.
And that your body is somehow associated with that.
But you're not.
And
Some
we
guys just
are.
gonna snap you. Well, in a way, but we're all like, just when you're dead, you're
Just
just.
some guy's just gonna scalp you and snap your brain.
Exactly.
Could be heroes.
I actually looked at the director of the Morgue, Craig Harvey, and like as the brain was being pulled out, he was like, "There's your computer." And I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like, okay.
That's it.
I'm like, are you?
Thanks, Craig.
I'm like, are you glad to be alive? And he like looks at me and just like, oh yeah, oh yeah.
And it just keeps moving. It just keeps moving.
I mean, and then there was this like little, like kind of short, portly Latino woman that was cutting this like half burnt corpse's ribs, but with huge bolt cutters, and it was like this really audible crack. And he goes, "You see her over there?" Craig said this. I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, She used to be upstairs. She was the secretary, and she heard the stories, and she became curious. She wanted to know where the action was, so she took some classes, and here she is. She's one of our best medical examiners now." And I was like, "Wow!" So it's
Craig
it's like a
reminds
little
me-
secret society,
Right.
Yeah, Craig sounds like a fun dude to hang out with.
Who's the professor in Fast Times? I just switched
Mr.
to
Hand.
decaffeinated coffee.
No, Ben.
Fast Times. I switched to decaffeinated coffee.
Oh yeah, he's the guy.
Morgue.
Didn't he play? He was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and he was
Yeah.
played Lotka's priest in
Yeah,
Taxi.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know who
That's-
he
yes.
is. He's
Jeez.
kind of a bit of a ghoul.
Yeah,
The
cool. But
1985
didn't they
DOB
go-
has to shut up right now. I'm like, uh-huh.
Yeah, I know who the guy is. I just don't know his name.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, wow.
I don't know his name either, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
He's
and it
kind- he
is-
was in-
Mr. Vargas.
I think he was in The Hills Have Eyes.
Chiavelli. That's
Yeah.
it.
Oh, wow,
it is.
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's- was that-
yeah.
is that Craig?
Well,
That was
that's-
like him?
Got a mustache, and we're getting there.
He's dead.
Is there anybody that like intimidates you to work with because you've developed? I guess you must have developed a relationship with like Sean Penn now because you've done a couple of things together.
Yeah.
And you've been directed by the guy who directed The Exorcist. Like you've gotten to work with a lot of pretty impressive people that to me would feel intimidated, but I don't know if that's how you approach it.
I mean, I certainly have a massive amount of respect for the people that I've worked with, and certainly working with Sean was. I mean, he's a real badass guy and
Yeah.
a really smart guy.
Not like this American Ninja Warrior guy, like an actual badass.
I mean, he's just a
I'm
very,
not going head to head with El Chapo.
he's just like a fearless guy in a lot of ways, and
Yeah.
so. I mean, I think the best world that you can kind of operate in is that you learn from those people, and they just try to make you better.
Yeah. You've done some of this stuff with Sean though, right? Like you guys went to Haiti together?
Yeah, he set up a kind of a charity and an operation down there, an NGO, and I went down there for 12 days and just did what little I could to sort of help out the operation they had, which was pretty sprawling. They'd actually set up kind of a base where a golf course had been, and a lot of people were living there.
I have to imagine that when you're hanging out with Sean Penn, it's hard to be apathetic. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to because he's got such an like enthusiasm and he's so
he has so much conviction about what he believes in and right and wrong and morality and doing things for other people. And I think that really rubs off on people. It really does, and it's really refreshing being around someone like that too, because like what you just said, like it's really easy to become apathetic, especially in this world right now. You know, but when you meet someone that truly isn't, and I think that's what drew him to want to even make Into the Wild. It was, you know, a movie about a character who wasn't apathetic, who cared about everything, and who really wanted to help people.
Right.
What was the motive of that guy too? Like just leaving and not telling his family where he was going.
Alexander Supertramp.
Alexander Supertramp. Yeah. I think, you know, a lot of it had to do in terms of not telling the family. There was a lot of anger towards the family and a lot of pain, and he was sort of kind of wanting to sort of divorce himself from his parents. That was what a lot of it really was. But he also at the same time wanted to kind of start anew and go on this epic adventure. But over the years, he's been sort of dismissed as, you know, being too hard on the parents and like how could this loving kid do this to his parents? But the parents, the relationship with the parents was a lot more contentious. And since the movie's come out, his sister Corinne McCandless wrote a book called The Wild Truth, where she delved a little bit deeper into that family dynamic, and you sort of realize a little bit more what Chris has done and how it wasn't quite as crazy on the surface.
She points out, like, he wasn't just this selfish kid who ran away. And,
I mean, you know, she says there was a lot of abuse and things like that.
Oh, wow. Okay. Hey, and Sean Penn, by the way, back to him, he's a ballsy guy. Yeah. The fact that he did go into Mexico and met with El Chapo and like risk possibly being kidnapped, I mean, that was tremendously
to go and do the interview with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when they say that the interview partially contributed to him being captured or something, I heard that the Mexican government said that. I mean, that's sort of like...
I'd be
also
terrified.
his communication with that woman. El Chapo was like, he was like into this,
you
sexually
can't write
into this
some
woman.
of this stuff. It's so amazing. I mean, you read it and you're like,
dirty
this
texting got El Chapo caught.
I mean, it's incredible.
All right, Hamilton.
It's sort of like I don't know, it's like the flame of fame is just irresistible for some of these types.
Well, he didn't know who Sean Penn was. El Chapo, he wanted to meet the Mexican girl who he was kind of in love with, and she brought Sean Penn, but he was in love with this. I think she was a journalist or she was an actress.
I think she was like a soap opera actress.
Maybe she was, but he was really, really into her.
But isn't that it? I mean, but it's right partly because she's a soap opera actress.
Yeah,
like he's got all this power.
idolization.
He's controlling everything, but he's still not like a celebrity. He's not like an actor or
Yeah.
whatever.
Watch it all just shot dead tomorrow. Yeah.
Did you read his awful text to her too, El Chapo? He was saying things like, "I would protect you like my own eyes," like really cheesy shit. Great drug lord, but terrible dirty texter.
When you're doing a movie like the Autopsy of Jane Doe, like when you get the script and everything and you're signing on, like it's a movie where if it's not filmed correctly or if the corpses look cheesy or whatever, everything can go wrong. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you pay attention to, or do you just like, I got to just have faith in the director?
You know what was kind of funny is, okay, so when I first got the script, there was this title page after the official title page where it basically said, an autopsy is, by its nature, graphic. However, this film is intended to be more poetic and expressionistic and not overly exploitative. And then you see the movie, and it is the most graphic, intense autopsy scenes imaginable. I'm like, I don't think they gave the director that page of the script. I think they sent that to like the actors to get them to be like, oh, well, it's like expressionistic.
Yeah,
and
it's not one of these gory movies.
But it's not. I mean, it doesn't feel exploitative at all or gratuitous. But an autopsy is graphic, and you know, there's this movie Concussion with Will Smith, and the first 5 minutes of the movie is an autopsy, and you never see the corpse. It's all like him being like on his face as he's like, and there's the brain, you know? And so this movie doesn't do that at all. But the director, Andre Overdahl, he made this movie called Troll Hunter, which was it's on Netflix if you want to check it out. It's actually really good. It's like this mockumentary about these college kids who try to do a report on this guy who's supposedly a troll hunter, and then it turns out he actually is, and he works for the government, and he hunts down these massive trolls across the country. It's really good. So I had a lot of faith in him just from this film because I was like, this guy's a talented guy. He's going to do well.
But if a film avoids showing something, like you say in the first 5 minutes where they don't show it at all, it's like that's almost gratuitous in the other way where it's like insulting. Like, you know, we can handle a little bit of it. You know, if they're totally avoiding all of it, it's like...
Yeah. And I think in particular with the case of the Autopsy of Jane Doe, after I left that Los Angeles County morgue, I called up the director and I said, if the horror that I just experienced going into this morgue, if you can capture 1/10 of that in this film, like, this is going to be a truly horrifying film.
Yeah. And the whole film does take place within the morgue. Like, it's this confined thing.
That's always amazing to me.
Yeah.
Like, so when you can take a movie which you always expect spectacle, and it's so intimate.
Totally.
Like the story, the acting has to be so compelling to drive it. I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the benefits is of having that Sherlock Holmes detective story. It's not like a play where it's like two people being like, and then we went over to the thing and we
Right.
did they're finding these clues.
Right.
So you're really building. It's a psychological kind of intellectual building.
It's like Quincy, where the coroner gets involved more than a coroner would usually get involved.
No.
Yes.
We're not getting Quincy references.
Do you remember Quincy?
85.
Ah, damn it.
I was born in 83, so I'm not with you on Quincy either.
He lived on a boat.
Yeah, he did.
He was a medical examiner who lived on a boat.
Quincy to me was my 9-year-old neighbor when I was a little kid growing up.
Yeah, so maybe the reference isn't exactly
Jack
the same.
Klugman was a 9-year-old neighbor?
Exactly.
Hey, Emile.
It was a murder. Do Quincy all day.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'd be lost. December 21st, by the way, is when the Autopsy of Jane Doe is out in limited theaters. The day before, it shows up on video and on demand and all that stuff. So that's fun, right? When you can get, that there's that many eyes that have access to the movie.
Movie star.
You're still excited about that?
I really am.
What's kind of crazy about it is, so the trailer came out online, and it's not like a big movie or anything, but for whatever reason, it went like mad viral.
It
and
did
it has
go
like
viral.
10 million or more views. It's crazy.
Do you like the fact that it's on?
Which is really unheard of for a movie like that.
Do you like it being on demand as well at the same time, or would you prefer it was just in the theaters?
I mean, these days, I don't know, so many people are so used to TV shows and binge watching TV shows that I have less of a problem with it now than I ever had before. I don't necessarily know if it's the most ideal, but at the same time, so many people I talk to, they don't go to the theater as much as they used to. They watch Westworld, they watch Black Mirror, they watch all these shows. So they can have access to it.
It sounds like the setting, the ambiance, it would be better appreciated in the theater. I feel like stand-up, when people watch stand-up on TV, they don't get it. It's live, it's magical. And I feel the same way about movies. Like, a movie is meant to be appreciated in the theater. No focus taken away the big screen.
I got to tell you, because generally you're right. Like, I like going to the theater. I was watching this movie on a laptop last night. Like, that's where the screeners... And a lot of times you lose a lot in a movie when you're just watching on a laptop screen. But the whole time, it was like 11 o'clock at night. So I just kept, like, looking over my shoulder.
Yeah.
And, like, still getting freaked out about all the visuals and
you know
everything. It
what's-
really is a creepy movie.
And these days we're so used to like being attached to our phones and we're used to viewing things the size of our screens.
Yeah.
That when you actually watch like a TV now, it seems really big.
It does.
It's really weird because like I'll watch stuff on my phone. Like I'll watch movies on my phone. I'll read books on my phone.
Uh-huh.
So when I actually watch a TV now, I'm like, oh wow, that's way bigger than my phone.
Well, plus, a movie like that, you don't have to watch it because it's not like it's a special effects driven film. It's not like it's something like Pacific Rim that you got to see on a giant screen.
I wouldn't necessarily recommend watching it like alone at night though. Like I actually think that would be.
It's really creepy.
That's the best way to watch it.
that
It's
was a
good to
good
get creeped
tease.
out.
I mean,
Don't
I
watch
made the
it
mistake of
alone.
trying to rehearse a couple times alone at night in my house, and all of a sudden the house would start creaking, and I'd be looking around, and I was like, ugh. And I like literally stopped rehearsing at night. I was like, yeah, it's a little. Too
I like being creeped out by a film. It's nice. It means you're feeling something.
Isn't it funny though? Isn't it funny these days? How many people do you talk to these days that are like, oh yeah, I don't do scary movies? I go, why? They're like, oh, they're too scary.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that won't
handle
watch them.
I can't handle them.
I can't.
Yeah, they don't want anything upsetting. Nobody wants anything upsetting.
I love being
That's the
scared.
whole point.
Right.
Yeah.
Whole
No,
point.
I just want something. They
I
don't want
like
a spectrum of
nightmares.
They're
emotion.
such little snowflakes.
It's
yeah.
satisfying.
Yeah.
Like a night. I used to hate nightmares. Now I like a nightmare because you wake up and you're like, oh God, I'm not in that horrible place. I'm in my bed.
Yeah.
As
Although-
opposed to a good dream when you wake up and you're like, oh, I wish I were still asleep.
Yeah, that was dope.
Yeah.
That was fun.
There's
Yeah.
some nightmares though that like will like haunt you all day.
Yeah.
I don't like those.
Okay.
I don't mind them.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming
He's the way he said it.
Yeah,
Been
going
to
to
the
the
morgue.
morgue is like.
But a scary
great
movie
for
that
that.
creeps you out or makes you feel something, it's like that's such a great thing to have pulled out of you.
Because you're reminded that you're a human being.
Yeah, and now I know how the women I date feel. Just creeped out and uncomfortable. But no, I like that, man. It means if the movie, it's like a good comedy that makes you laugh, or whatever, a movie that makes you cry.
Something that makes you feel.
If you feel nothing at the end of a movie, like, okay, that was a thing, then what's the use of doing it?
Yeah.
I always wonder, you got into a little legal trouble last summer, and like, I always wonder about the industry. Like, when that happens, do you have to go on like an industry like apology tour so everybody knows you're cool, or do you just kind of pick up and go?
I think it's just about, moving forward and being as positive as I can, step by step, and just trying to sort of lead by my actions.
Right. So like yeah, just going forward and being like, well, I can only speak for what I'm doing right now, and nobody's.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's really important to just do the best I can every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hollywood's a pretty forgiving place if you're genuinely ready to, like, you're like, okay, I fucked up, and now I'm not fucking up. They'll forgive a lot of stuff in Hollywood as long as you're not continually doing
Especially
it.
if you're good at what you do.
Yeah,
right?
that helps a lot.
Yeah. Like if you're an artist and you're good at what you do.
Well, I think the important thing too is to learn from your errors.
Yeah.
And correct your actions. I think that's a really important
Yeah.
thing.
I feel like we love to build people up only to tear them down, and then have them grovel at our feet, and then allow them to
Give them
rise
the comeback
again.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
I mean, I
gotta
feel
give them
that's
the
society
sequel.
though. Like society there's this perverse notion of we love seeing people stumble. We love seeing people be human, and it's like it happens to everyone. Everyone makes a mistake.
But I think it's really important though that people take accountability for what they do as well.
Yeah.
And admit that they made mistakes.
Well, that's what you did, and you ended up doing a couple weeks in jail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that, like, when you're in there, because you go from Hollywood to the complete opposite,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, is that where you're like, let me reshape the way I think about things?
I mean, you could definitely call it a wake-up call. I mean, it's not a pleasant place to be in. And I think the important thing is that, if people have problems with alcohol or drugs, or they're blacking out or something like that, those are things to pay attention to. Those are that I don't think that, because I've talked to so many people since that have had problems and similar problems, and it's something that people should really pay attention to and be aware of.
How were you treated in jail? Was there any problems there, or did they kind of just keep you separated?
Well, I think I sort of benefited from the fact that a lot of the guys in there had a lot of respect for the armed forces and for lone survivor and the kind of SEAL community. So they had enjoyed that film, and I was just respectful of people and hoped that they were the same.
Yeah, because whenever like the idea of going to jail is so scary. Like I'm afraid like I'm going to say the wrong thing. Or
But it's awesome when you find out that they're like, no, I'm a fan. You're like,
Okay.
cool.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, all right, good. Good. Well, it's also a bit of research, hopefully, if that ever comes up for the movies, you won't have to do. Because you did it. It's sort of like going to the morgue, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Creepy.
Yeah.
Right?
Very creepy. What are you doing next?
I'm going to do a film, kind of a weird, quirky comedy in Northern California, called An Evening with Beverly Luff Lynn. We're gonna go shoot that. But the next thing I have coming out is I worked with J.K. Simmons on a kind of a buddy movie called All Nighter.
How is he?
He's amazing. He's really funny. He's a great guy. And the movie is pretty hilarious.
Schillinger from Oz.
Of course,
right?
Yes.
Who's Beverly Luff Lynn? That's a great name.
Yeah, he's sort of like the protagonist.
It's a he, Beverly.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's sort of like a kind of a magical presence where you don't really know exactly what he does. It's like sort of like a lounge stand-up act, kind of all kind of pressed together. It's pretty great.
Oh, he's
It's
a
awesome.
comic and does all kinds of weird stuff.
but it's kind of like you don't really know exactly what he does. They keep it a little bit vague.
Oh, okay.
It's just an
Interesting.
entertainer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you end up like, when you do these movies, do you end up having relationships with people that last, or is it like for instance, when you're working with like J.K. Simmons, is that somebody that you now kind of know and have connected with, or are these relationships that just kind of exist on set and then you both kind of do your own thing?
I mean, it just depends on who it is. You know what I mean? Sometimes you really connect with somebody or you get along for a particular reason. Like John Goodman and I on Speed Racer, we got along really well, and he ended up like letting me live in his house for like a year after we worked together. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it was like amazing. It was like, wow, okay, cool. And he was just, he had a house in Los Angeles, and he was like nice enough to let me stay there for a bit, and like a little bit just turned into a friggin' year.
Why wasn't he there?
Well, he's always working and flying around, and he's got multiple houses. He's got another one. So I was like, just awesome, and he would sometimes come, and we would like watch baseball games, and he's just amazing.
That
he's
is
the
amazing.
Best actor. He should get nominated for an Oscar for Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, he doesn't really get
so good in that movie.
John Goodman doesn't get credit for enough of the stuff he does.
He's like one of those guys that's just so good in everything.
Yeah.
You're just used to him being great in everything.
Yeah. Yeah, he's amazing. And do you look around the house at points going like,
you have to.
Don't forget this is John Goodman's house. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. I'm like looking around the place going, enjoy this house because you're never going to live in a house this big.
Do you go through the drawers? I'd have to go through the drawers.
Would you?
You have to. You're there.
Big pairs of underwear.
I've got a weird honor code like that. I'm not going through the drawers.
Well, you're a good person.
It's the SEAL training.
Yeah.
Well, this was pre-SEAL training.
You're a good person, though. Jim, on the other hand, is not a trustworthy house guest.
I get freaked out. I have actually people doing something in my place today, like fixing something. I get so freaked out by people being in my space. Like, I don't like people touching my shit. I mean, I don't know how you let anybody stay in your house. Just going to assume they're going to go through all your stuff. Touch it.
So you're right. I mean, it does take a lot of trust.
Yeah.
Would you let someone stay in your place?
Sure.
All right.
See,
But I look him in the eye
Not,
before
not
and be
you.
like, we're
Not
cool.
you. Right?
Yeah, are we cool? Are we good?
We're cool, right? There's no weird, hidden...
That's hilarious. Well, listen, everybody needs to go check out the Autopsy of Jane Doe. It's, as I said, it's going to be on demand and all over the place starting December 20th. I'm assuming iTunes, Amazon, all over the place. And limited theater release on December 21st. It's always good to see these movies in theaters, I think, because I feel like everybody complains that the only thing that gets played in theaters is like superhero movies and that nothing happens anymore. Right. But when a movie like this comes out limited release, if people don't go see it, then there's not evidence that more movies like this need to be shown in theaters.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So check that out. And, of course, you can follow Emile at Emile Hirsch on Twitter. Thanks for hanging out, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Fun.
It's been fun.